You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Welcome. We are so happy to have you here today. This is our fourth show today as we round up the week with 18 shows, and we are just thrilled. You are watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah. I am your host, executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. And with me today, of course, is my co-host, Pet Psychic Aminah. There she is. Woo! Welcome.
Thank you. Gosh, Fridays are my favorite. I don't know you have so many favorites. I bet just getting to watch your shows is amazing. It's like pulls me down the information hole, which I absolutely adore. So thank you. I know I only get in a couple here and there during the week, but they're amazing. If you guys listening don't just look through your schedule. Do you have any field you haven't touched or?
You know what? That's a great question. We're actually going to be launching a show called The Wise Ones, which is really geared towards people 70 and older. And we're going to do some really nice things for them. We're coming out with a cooking show from Scotland where my co-host will be in 5-star kitchens with world-renowned chefs pairing alcohol, beverages, and food. So those shows are coming. And so we've got a question here, Kim Campbell. This is really live. Thanks for asking. It's not pre-recorded. Anything going on right now? If my green screen falls, if my headsets are always moving.
You're going to see it.
You're going to see it, Kim. It is all live. So thanks for watching. So Aminah, you've brought us another fantastic guest. And before we bring Alx out, I'm going to spotlight you. And why don't you tell us all about what you're doing, all the value you bring to this beautiful world?
Wow, I really appreciate that. Thank you. So hi, everybody. As you can see, my banner, Bridging Worlds, is literal in this way. I am really, really fortunate to not only have college education, but a lifetime of working with wildlife and with domestic pets and their owners. I'd like to say I work with the pets first and the owners next. I got asked just an hour ago about what I hear and what I see and that kind of stuff. It's hard to explain because I was born like this, and as I've told people, it's like trying to ask what is it like to be blonde or white, or I don't know. I've always been that way. I've always heard what the animals are thinking and saying. I wrote a paper the other day, and I noticed the birds, and I noticed the bees, and I noticed the frogs, and all that before I noticed the people walking around me, because it's all a conversation. What I want to help people with is with that conversation. I'm able to translate. I'm able to talk about a pack mentality. If you're talking about a dog specifically, they live in packs, cats don't. I'm dealing with all the time end of life. Yesterday was a critical place to be there for a new client actually, and called me and said, we're going to put my puppies down. Is this the right decision? Nobody should have to make that decision, but sometimes it's the best. And so we go through the pros and cons, and we go through what I know and that type of stuff. There is a complicated conversation for everybody. I'm the counselor between the pets and the people is the big thing. But I back it up with training. I am a trained trainer, and I am going to talk about origin. A dog is a pack animal, a cat is a single. So we're going to get all of that in the conversation. And then your lifestyle. What are you up for? Are you adopting for the first time? Are you having pets for the 100th time? The conversation is different depending on the animal. A horse is going to say something completely different than a lizard. I promise you the reptiles don't say much at all because they're very small brain. But we can talk caging because I have that experience. I'd love to help you do better with your pets. And that's my love language.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you. I have to say, since you and I started this show together, which was in January, I have learned so much about animals that I had no idea about. And I know I told you that I got my meditation certification for being a teacher, and I had to promise not to kill anything. So that includes bugs. So
Right.
I now think about some of the conversations that you and I've had about bugs, and I actually name them and talk to them like, hey, Jerry, stay over there. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, mine is Bob. Bob spider. Eat all the things I don't want. But you know what? If you're over my head on the toilet, we're going to get that old Christmas cup out that we have hanging around somewhere. We're going to just scoop you up and take you outside, because I promise that's not cool.
Not good. Location doesn't apply to real estate.
Exactly.
So
I don't care if you're a tightrope expert. Some point you'll fall off. You will fall off that teeny little string that you're standing on.
I like that idea, tightrope expert. So Aminah, tell us about your guest, Alx Uttermann, because she's really accomplished quite a lot. I want to hear about how you guys met, and I'll bring her out.
Well, the really interesting thing is Alx and I and this is our first face-to-face with your show, because I have gone from people I'm very close to and then put the all call out and said, hey, Dr. Jacalyn has given me this fabulous format, and I'd like to help everybody that we can and keep moving out. So this is a referral on a referral. So I want to really shortly give some things that Alx has given me. And so she says since 2000, she's doing global healing and inspirational leadership, has been conducting healing workshops and training in a wide array of healing techniques and spiritual knowledge from the ancient India. From Singapore to California, she's facilitating hundreds of workshops, classes, and ceremonies and other healing events, creating hundreds of skilled healers to help bring more light into the world. And this is part of my love language. So I love to support all of this, but I'd really like to encourage us, let's bring Alx on and have her explain what does all that mean? Because that is a lot of depth.
That is a lot of depth. And without further ado, joining us now is Alx Uttermann. Welcome.
Welcome.
Hello. Good to be here.
Alx, where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
Nice. How is it there? Is everything open now?
Gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, is everything open? No, not. I'm not sure. I think yes, but I think June. Oh yeah, well, June it was supposed to open, so I suppose yes. Disneyland was open at 25% capacity as of like a month and a half ago, I think. So things are happening.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, Aminah just provided us with a whole litany of things that you've accomplished and what you're doing, and we'd like to hear directly from you. So, how would you describe the value that you're bringing to this earth?
Oh my God, yeah. And we have how much time?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, as the bio stated, I've been at this for over 20 years now, doing healing on both a personal and a kind of global level. And training healers is a big part of my work. And over 20 plus years, yeah, I've created, I say it's really the divinity through me, but nonetheless, has created hundreds and hundreds of really capable healers to help humanity with the suffering in this planet. Particularly, I think, what I perceive as the origins of all of the conditions that people have, which is heartbreak. The underlying number one disease that humanity is facing really is a broken heart. And that's not only, I think in the West, we think that's romantic. It's not only romantic. It can be extreme loss. It can be professional disappointment. It can be extreme betrayal from friends or business partners. There are many, many types of heartbreak. It can be family of origin trauma. Could be growing up in a war zone. So everything else, all the symptoms, the emotional symptoms, all of the difficulty that we face as human beings is coming from heartbreak. And, we have a lot of hospitals for broken bodies, and we have hospitals for broken minds, but we really don't have hospitals for broken hearts. So I spent many years training in South India with a miracle healing saint named Kaleshwar, who had supernatural healing abilities. And his stance was, yeah, I have miracle abilities. It's true. I worked hard for them. And I'm willing to teach them to anyone who's willing to do really hard work. Or so many of us from worldwide said, yep, willing to do the hard work, going to India. And so I wound up, I didn't realize at the time, I visited a couple of times and took some classes and things. And then I wound up living in South India for about 5 years and training really intensively on his ashram in the miracle healing abilities. And so that's what I bring to the world. I teach every system I learned. After those 5 years, I was back and forth to India. Well, still. So it's been, a 21-year romance with the knowledge from ancient India that's appropriate for people now. The thing is, these techniques are so efficient. They go straight to the energy. There are many ways to deal with trauma. Let's take PTSD as an example. If we see combat soldiers who are, 18, 20-year-old kids doing and seeing things that really are so horrific, no one should ever do or see them. When they come back with PTSD, that's an energetic, kind of like an input in the system. The human system, it's like a battery. It can hold a positive charge, it can hold negative charges. We're like that. We're like bags of water with semi-precious metals, and we hold charges. Good charges are, the positive, beautiful things, a good meditation, a piece of art that moves us to tears, like music or performance art or visual art, or something in nature that's so moving. These are the kinds of charges we want in our sort of soul battery. Negative charges, anything traumatic, right? A scolding, an argument, receiving some kind of negative energy or criticism or nastiness from someone else. Or it can be really extreme, like abuse, substance abuse, and things that are shocking to our soul. So those negative charges, for instance, in a combat situation with our veterans, that input that comes in is so forceful as an energetic. Now it's like stored in the soul battery. The reason why there are so many flashbacks and continued behaviors around PTSD, in my opinion, is that energy packet is still like entrenched in the soul battery. And my experience is it takes a kind of supernatural energy. It takes a kind of divine force to be able to pull that out. Dissolving those kinds of stresses, that's obviously an extreme case, but stress, burnout, overwhelm, PTSD, addiction issues, going straight to the energy level and dissolving it there rather than dealing only with the surface symptoms. That's a lot of my work, and that's what I teach people also how to do.
Wow, that's fascinating. Amazing. I mean, you really are helping people get to the core of what the issue is. And so I'm wondering, when you're dealing with people's energy and things, some of the examples you gave, real trauma, I mean, life-altering things, how do you protect your own energy from not giving your own energy away, I guess I'm trying to say.
Whose energy is it in the first place? It's mine? Really? No. My feeling is, we're all agents of whatever you want to call the divine, the cosmic intelligence or God or however we name it, higher power, etc. That force, Star Wars had it right. The force that comes through us is what does the work. That force that comes through us is what is interacting with the same thing in another person. So there is, a kind of blowback that happens. And I think every healer, every energetic healer, but also conventional healers, physicians, nurses, EMS, I'm trying to think, like dentists, acupuncturists, body workers, if we're alert, we realize, oh my God, I'm absorbing negative energy. And I don't say that in a pejorative sense. It's just the stressful energy, the painful energy that someone is releasing, let's say in a kind of healing situation or a relaxing situation where we naturally start to kind of decharge or dissolve our own stress. That comes to the person who's facilitating that shift. Or now what to do with that. If we're really smart as a healer or as a facilitator or a teacher or somebody who has got a lot of eyes on them, making a presentation. If we're smart, we know, okay, I'm an agent of this, whatever I call God or cosmic intelligence or source or Jesus or Buddha or whatever. So That's doing the work. I'm not doing the work, right? I'm just the messenger, right? If I know that, then 98% of the stress that's coming off of the person will go straight to the source. That's great. 2 to 3%, however, stays with the person who facilitated that energetic shift. And until we decharge it effectively, until we find, there are so stupid simple tools that I learned in India that are almost like laughably simple, to the point where they tend to get underestimated, that actually effectively dissolve that residue, which will otherwise build up over time and really take us down. I can't tell you how many healers and, of course, medical people and everybody that I've seen over the years get really sick because they're absorbing so much from the people that they're taking care of, and they don't have an effective way to decharge that residue, that negative energy that's staying in their system. So in terms of protecting myself, no, I go full into the trenches. And afterwards, I handle the energy. I manage it effectively, which I feel is part of what we're here to do with each other. You know, a really simple example is, let's say a good friend of yours calls you and they've had a horrible traumatic thing happen that day. You know, maybe a bad breakup or lost a job or some awful thing, and they're crying and they're telling you all their stuff, right? As a good friend, you're listening with an open heart. Good, we should do that, right? At the end of an hour, your friend feels great. They got something released, right? How do you feel? Likely exhausted, drained, irritated, or hyper. It depends how it hits our neurophysiology, but the mechanic is the same. What happened there is, listening with an open heart, we're like sponges for the pain that someone is saying to us, right? They're sharing their pain. They're sharing some of their stress, their negativity. It means it's coming to us through the open heart. The bigger the heart, the more we absorb. That's the bane of healers everywhere. That's fine. We should do that. That was a healing, essentially. I would call that a healing. A healing isn't some formal office and somebody does some woo-woo thing to you, or an hour of therapy, or an hour of a medical diagnosis. It's not only confined to those kinds of parameters. The healing is, you interacted with someone, they feel better after that interaction, and you probably feel like crap. Now, what to do with that? That's the negative charge that came. So decharging that through simple techniques, giving it back to nature, in effect, is a big part of my specialty, let's say.
That's so amazing. True. I can think of how many times people just, people don't call usually and say, hey, is this a good time for me to dump everything that I'm possibly feeling right now? Like, do you have like a good hour that I could just dump everything? Yep. So what I'll do is if I'm not scheduled with a coach or something, I'll say to someone, listen, I have all this stuff. Just put the phone down. Do me a favor, put the phone down. I'm just going to blither on endlessly. And then you're not going to feel any worse. And then I'm going to do a meditation or some kind of, But I think you're right. There are tools that are out there. There are people like you who are out there, like Aminah. And if people just reach out, you don't have to live with those feelings that you have for. And by the way, we have a comment from Kim. Kim Campbell, I don't really understand your question. I'm wondering if you could type it again, please. And then we can bring it out to Aminah and Alx to answer. We need to take a break and hear from some of our sponsors. We do love our sponsors. So stay with us. We've got a lot more program left. We will be right back.
Hi, my name is Zane Carson Caruth, and I'm the author of this book, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever.
Reading is magic. Studies have shown that reading to your children lays the foundation for greater success in life. Reading helps develop language and vocabulary skills. It helps improve memory, and it encourages curiosity and inspires creativity. The benefits are immeasurable, and as a parent, you'll benefit too. In only 10 or 15 minutes a day, you'll be creating warm memories and a bonding experience that will last for years to come. So take time to read to your children. Read them books about things that engage and interest them. Tales of fairies and magic fascinate children, and as everyone knows, the Tooth Fairy is at the top of the list. If your child loves magic, wands, adventure, and what child doesn't, you'll love reading them books from the trademarked series, The World's First Tooth Fairy Ever. Follow along as Bella, the world's first tooth fairy, accidentally starts the Tooth Fairy tradition. Learn the tricks of being a professional tooth fairy in the book, A Bella Starts at Tooth Fairy School. Your child's imagination will soar as you read the adventures of Abella and her magic wand. These wonderful books are available at worldsfirsttoothfairy.com and at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Garden. Your host, Diane Boehm. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Diane Floyd Boehm tells wonderful stories that warm the heart, spark the imagination, and unite people and families across generations. For children, Diane's Harry the Camel connects with all of us who've ever wondered how different our lives might have been if only we'd been born something better, like a wonderful horse instead of an ordinary camel. In the end, we all learn along with Harry that there's nothing better than just being yourself. Diane's Little Girl in the Moon looks down on earthbound children and wonders if they know she's just like them. A story of love, home, and the bond between mother and daughter, its powerful theme that we're each of us different yet all of us the same plants a seed in children that promises to blossom within a loving and trusting grown-up. Diane's new biography, Rise, recounts the experiences of her grandmother, Ruby, to reveal the hidden strength of the human spirit. Ruby's story inspires all of us to become the best versions of ourselves. You'll find all of Diane's delightful books and much more at DianeFloydBoehm.com. Visit DianeFloydBoehm.com. That's DianeFloydBoehm.com.
Every day it was the same old story. I worked hard to make sure no one noticed what I was dealing with, but my stomach never cared where I was. And the pain just kept coming. After too many close calls and even weight loss, I had to do something. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation helped me realize what was going on and even helped me find a specialist. Don't hide your symptoms. Get help at spillyourguts.org.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back. You are still watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn presents Pet Psychic Aminah and our guest, Alx Uttermann. I always do this the wrong way. It's very difficult. Alx is...
I have to remember to go this way for you.
We're kind of like a Brady Bunch.
It's fine. Can't get that.
Now we're the Brady Bunch in wannabe style.
Oh, the reboot.
Alx is joining us today from Los Angeles, California, and she is a healer of healers, but she's also a trainer of healers. And she's got extensive experience that she just walked us through a little bit of how she works with people. And of course, there's so much more to hear. I'm wondering, Alx, when someone comes to you, this is a client as opposed to someone who wants to be trained, and they have this trauma, they can tell you exactly what happened to them. but yet they describe it in such a manner that there's really no emotion. It's almost just like it happened to somebody else. It didn't happen to them. Do you feel that, I shouldn't say do you feel, but does the person have to make a commitment to go deep? In other words, to actually lose the demeanor of being a brick wall and being able to open up to be helped and to be healed, or not necessarily?
That's such an interesting question. I wonder if you have some specific situation in mind that you're asking such a very pointed thing.
Because I interview people all the time, and it's interesting. They come to the show. It might be a show where you're supposed to be sharing a story of hope, inspiration, but they show up as a wall. And then my job is to get them to open up, and that might take time. And so I'm just wondering how you work with people who show up that way.
Yeah, well, I will say this, and so our angles are a little different in terms of you're trying to have someone say something. Mine is, in a healing process, it is helpful if they will tell me what it was, however it occurs. They could be pretty stone-faced in the beginning. I think a lot of people are scared to be vulnerable, especially initially, or with someone they don't know. However, for the healing process to occur, really, it's helpful that they get to the truth of it. It doesn't almost matter if they seem to have a veneer on it or not. The energy will start working on them. The energy that's coming through me, the energy of the healing, like that they met me 50% even to show up for something, means already they're engaged in a process, whether they recognize that or not. It is easier to work with someone who's more open, obviously. But it almost kind of on that level doesn't matter, is my experience. And I have enough different tools. And part of what I did in India was spent, like 16 hours sometimes a day meditating for months at a time to build a certain kind of energy inside, different angles of energy, different qualities and flavors of exact healing. I don't know how to say it, like colors of the rainbow, I guess, a full spectrum of different angles to address this thing called heartbreak in the human soul. So if someone is sitting in front of me and they have that kind of closed feeling or that kind of sort of hiding nature, already I'm thinking different mantras to start cracking it. I don't have to say anything. So it might be a little bit different from trying to have an interview with somebody and like, hello, how many teeth do I have to pull before you actually tell me the thing that you came here to tell me?
That was a great answer.
But I'll say having energetic tools means you don't have to go on the surface. Surface level is pretty frustrating, as I'm sure you know. If I meet somebody's surface story with a surface resistance, it's just going to be a conflagration. Whereas when it is a difficult situation, let's say, someone's really angry, for example, there are ways to just simply disarm it from different meditation energy that I really don't have to say things. I don't go on the surface 90% of the time. I'm already cutting to the lower, the inside energy that's running there and starting to shift things on that level.
It's amazing. It is amazing. Yeah, I'm giving it further thought.
Well, and I recommend if anybody has any doubts or hasn't tried it and anything like that, try it, because what Alx is talking about is doing the deeper work, is doing and Alx, please correct me, but every healer I've had anything to do with and what you're talking about, this is that core healing. This is that really, there's not a better word than the deep work. If you want to build a house and you decide to just throw up a few boards and kind of nail them together and put up a cardboard roof, well, yay, that's good for a couple of hours or before the wind picks up at, -1 knot of air. But what you're describing, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is you're talking about build the foundation, pour the soil, cut the soil, put the cement in, put the rebar, really build the foundation and then build your house.
Yeah, and if the foundation is shaky,
yeah,
because it's been assaulted so many times,
right?
Extreme heartbreak. If the foundational place in us is hurting, how can the express surface be functional?
And that's
guarantee it will not be.
Exactly.
The amazing thing to me is so many people don't recognize that they're heartbroken. I've literally sat in audiences of like 300 people with my spiritual pastor in India who would say 90% of humanity is suffering heartbreak, primary disease. Then shortly later, he'd say, how many people here are heartbroken right now, right? Like 2 hands would go up. And I'm thinking, well, given the odds, that's not, people are not being honest, right? And sometimes he would say very quietly, you're lying. But I'll give the healing anyway.
Right.
You know, so I think we think of heartbreak like a weakness or like a romantic thing only. And what we don't understand is that the obvious symptoms coming from heartbreak are what Jacalyn was describing, someone who's super close, right? They have a wall. Where is that wall coming from? That wall came from because somebody was really heartbroken a bunch of times over their life, which is natural. We all are. And they've learned to just cover it, right? It could also be depression. It could be anxiety. It could be insomnia. It could be all the addictions, substance abuse or activity abuse, shopping addiction, sex addiction, whatever. It could be compulsive behavior. There are so many symptoms that we see all the time in the normal life as human beings. And we kind of just take that for like, oh, well, but that happens. Yeah, but at the foundation level, it doesn't need to be that way. It does not need to happen. That is, let's not normalize behavior that's coming from extreme pain.
No. So I have a question, Jacalyn, when you have a chance to.
Yeah, go ahead.
So if we get to it now or after the break, I'd really like to know, when you do that deep healing, do you recommend that you put up to protect yourself from constantly having to do that deep healing? So you knew where I was going to go with this, because you and I know life happens. You know, the car accidents happen and this happens or whatever happens. And we know that it moves you forward, but not everybody sees that as the cup half full things.
Correct.
I've had the head-on car accident with my babies in the car, and it changed the way I did things in a positive way because of who I am. Not, oh my God, I'm never going to drive ever again. But people do that. They never, ever, ever drive again. Right. And so I'd like to see you talk about, so let's do the deep work. I completely agree. You've got to do a foundation, not on quicksand, but a real one. And then what do you do? Because life is traumatic at times. It just is.
Yeah, that's right.
And I think my comment is actually would go nicely with what you just asked. So my comment is, at least the generation that I was born in, it's get over it. Oh, he left you.
Yeah.
Love you. Oh, that didn't work out. Who cares? Get over it. Suck it up. Move on. And so I think after you hear that enough times, you just start putting it down. Now, if you went off to war, that's a different thing. If you're in a horrible car accident,
not all the time. Our young veterans get told that from Vietnam, from World War II era and Korea veterans. We're like, what's all the fuss about? Why are you guys so upset?
I'm killing people for a living,
right? Hey, we had to suck it up. Why don't you? So that does exist also in the world of combat veterans, believe it or not.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and you'll see people who go, "No, I'm good, with the fake smile plastered to the face, because if they stop that for a second, they're going to break down, right? They're not doing well. You can see it.
Or how about this? How are you? I'm fine.
Yeah.
Oh, fine. What does fine even mean? There's no information. When someone tells me they're fine, I'm thinking there's a lot of stuff going on over there that they don't want to talk about. So.
Exactly. And
depending how fine you are is when you ask the next question. Okay, great. I'm leaving.
Yeah, right?
Or, I'd like to know more.
That's right. How dare you?
We are where we meet people. And I know my daughter called me on that. And she's like, would you quit saying you're fine? Because this is really not working when you go to doctor's appointments, when you go to the chiropractor, when you go, and you say, because I would say, oh, I'm fine. And they're like, so what are you doing here? Oh, yeah. I don't know. Just thought I'd spend a few $1,000s and visit you.
Yeah, right. Being vague.
Yeah.
And not letting you diagnose because.
You're so right, Alx. We need to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem, I shouldn't say problem, but I think the challenge is also people, and maybe when I say people, I'm thinking of me, I don't know, but it's like, I have all this stuff to do. I don't want to deal with that, because if I deal with that, if I start opening that up, then that means I'm going to be distracted from doing this. and I'm not going to feel good for some period of time. It's like a whole, running around that hamster wheel.
Yes, exactly. And I would offer that the real distraction is the field of activity. And the thing that's crying out to be addressed is the inner self. The soul is crying. And it will keep manufacturing situations that keep throwing you off the other stuff until you really pay attention. Like a car accident or a serious injury or a disease or something, or a pandemic that makes everybody go on a global pause. What are we really doing?
Right.
How far afield from ourselves have we gotten? And I mean en masse, right? As humanity, to need a kind of pause button on the whole thing. So everybody has to go internal and say, oh my God, what is my life? And by the way, what am I doing on this planet? And oh my God, the isolation in many cases has led to, surfacing mental health issues, and this and that. So it's our choice. But I can say the worst choice is to avoid the reality inside.
Yes, I can share, and Amina's heard this, but I have 3 autoimmune illnesses, and one of them is ulcerative colitis, and I never talked about it because I lived in this horrible shame. And I didn't start talking about it until 2018 when I found the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. And when I started talking about it, I couldn't believe how much lighter I started feeling. And, there's that whole initial, it's humiliating, it's embarrassing. And then somebody comes up and says, I can't believe I look at you and I would never know that you're running to the bathroom 50 times a day, but you gave me a reason to live. And when you hear something like that, it's just like, don't keep it down, let it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The realities are so different with those of us that have chronic issues and that type of stuff. For me, I've had it so long with chronic pain that it's just like, well, I'm in pain. Everybody's like, you in pain? Well, yeah, it's the go-to of what my body does. But that doesn't mean I have to live it and be there. I acknowledge it. You get the rest. And you've probably done the same thing with your condition. You just say, okay, this is, and we're going to manage it. But I have an amazing, great life because I refuse to take that, and it does backlash, like you said, Jacalyn, that we're fine, but then everybody sees us smile all day and it's like, yeah, but that doesn't mean you know what's going on in the background. We learn not to judge, but Alx, what you're doing is so incredibly important. I do it in my own field with people who are having, yesterday was the crisis call of my client saying, I have to put this pet down in a half an hour. Yeah. What do we do? And you have to be ready for those choices and then clear that energy to say, this is the right choice or this is the wrong choice. And I honor you. That's amazing what you're doing, man. I would offer, we're going to get the word out.
I would offer that the chronic pain also partly, here's my challenge. I have these stupid, simple decharging techniques to literally pull the energetic charges out of us. People who have chronic stuff, generally it's because it's built up and built up and built up and built up and built up over time from interacting with other people. Very simply, we're like semi-permeable membranes and we absorb a lot of pain and stress from other people all the time. And if we don't have an effective way to decharge it, it lodges in the system and it will turn into illnesses. So my challenge would be learn the techniques, practice them for a month and see if your pain levels come down.
It's amazing.
I would venture to say they probably will. Aminah, you said you came into this life with the ability to hear the animals and to have those kinds of conversations. I know I've also spoken with animals myself, and the experience around their owner's pain usually is more than the animal. So dealing with the human element in it, it's kind of like, I've also done time as a hospice volunteer, and it's the family of the person who's dying is usually the real stressful
absolutely
interactions. It's not so much the patient who is on the way out, and absorbing all that pain and that confusion and that hurt and that sadness and loss and grief that the family is going to go through. That needs to get decharged effectively. Otherwise, it will continue to go on the pile of energetic charges in your system that shouldn't be there in the first place. It's not your stuff.
Well, and I want everybody, you just said, it's not your stuff.
It's not your stuff.
But
energetically, it's coming to you because you're facilitating those shifts and acting in a lovely way with families. So by default, you're taking some of that on, which is fine. We're supposed to do that, but we need to handle it efficiently. And mostly in the West, were clueless. I mean, I say this I was a Reiki healer before I met Kalashwar and learned about decharging. And I would observe after doing Reiki sessions all day, I had a very busy practice. How it hit me was hyper, so hyper that I couldn't stop. I was like the Energizer Bunny. And I'm like, okay, it's late at night. What is going on? I'm like bouncing off the walls. The best thing I could figure to do was put on music and just dance for like an hour, hour and a half and sweat. But it didn't really address this energy imbalance because I had absorbed a lot of pain and stress from the people. The way my system interpreted it was hyperactive. So when I learned how to decharge, and I would go to the Reiki people and I'd go, hey, what is this? Why does this happen? And I go, they do this like woo-woo mystical thing. Oh, the energy takes care of itself. It's nothing doing la, la, la. I'm like, oh, so you really don't know, actually. But you're telling me. And that's generally with respect. I mean, Reiki is a fabulous, powerful modality. However, it has its limit. It's like one energy channel. And it's not very well clearly understood. And I see that in the West a lot, that a lot of the kind of New Age traditions and the healing capacity is sort of like, we make it up as we go along. We hope for the best. And I have seen over and over again, people get really sick when they're practitioners. And they don't have to. It's because we don't understand this balance point of the charging and the decharging that happens in our system. We need to decharge the negative things that we absorb from other people. And that's true no matter what your profession is. You know, somebody who works in customer service or retail sales, they are dealing with people all the time. Some of those people are not happy people. And a lot of them are throwing their crap on the representative of the company, the barista at Starbucks or the retail clerk at the Gap or whatever. They're really taking it head on. Somebody's rage, especially in pandemic when everybody's edgy anyway. The folks who work at Trader Joe's, they're taking it full barrel. I can't imagine what they feel like when they go home. They're probably so just crawling home exhausted, right? They don't need to. If you know how to decharge effectively, it's done. 10 minutes, it's done. All of that. You know, I mean, a simple example too, is like if you have an argument with somebody and they're yelling at you and you're shaking afterwards. Why are you shaking? We could say chemically, oh, it's adrenaline. Oh, it's this, it's that. It's the fight or flight thing. No, you received a negative charge from somebody directed at you. It's reverberating in your subtle energy system, and it's unbearable. It's an overload. It's too much for us. If we simply absorb that, then that becomes part of our whole system. We metabolize it unless we decharge it effectively. Once you decharge it, you're free and clear. It never happened. It's fine. You're not carrying that overlay from what somebody else essentially put into you in a moment of anger, for example.
It's so I have a question. You gave a lot of really good examples of how people in a career, in a job, they can take the brunt of somebody else's. So if somebody has these skills to be able to detox, to detach, to get rid of this cleanse, is that okay to continue to stay in that environment?
Yeah, great. Because now there's no issue. You go into the dirty water and then you wash it off when you get home. And the techniques are so efficient.
Every day you have to go in the dirty water. That's okay then.
Every day I brush my teeth. God knows what I ate. I don't want it to build up. It's a similar thing. Yeah, of course. Every day you can go in the dirty water. I'll give you an example. So I did this website called The Energetics of Self-Care, which are two very simple techniques. One is the whole range of decharging, and the other is a range of what I call integrative meditation. Both can be done while at work. They don't require extra time for self-care. They're so efficient. But I did this website in the height of the pandemic because I was really worried about our frontline health workers who are just dropping like flies emotionally, right? Because they're taking on so much and they're seeing things. I mean, at the height of the pandemic in our big cities, hospitals were like combat zones, right? It's too much. We're too delicate as souls to receive that every day. So I made the site kind of geared toward frontline healthcare workers, but addressing this for a wide variety of occupations, professions, healing modalities, and so on. And practical experience, I have a number of friends here in LA who are frontline healthcare nurses, and they were on the front lines of the COVID pandemic at its worst in LA. And those who had the decharging techniques, they're fine. They're clear, fine. They decharge on their way home from work, or even at work if it was really traumatic. Someone died in front of them and the family and all that. My nurse friends who do not use the decharging techniques, they're everything you would imagine. Beautiful hot messes.
So what reasons would people give for not using them, these techniques?
Do you know? Because they're slightly supernatural. They're energetic techniques, right? They're not normal. It's not like self-care, have a nice cup of tea, and they require a little bit of relating to nature in a specific way to offload the energy back to nature. So arguments are, they think, oh, I don't have time for something like that, which is nonsense, because if they learn it rapidly, it takes like maybe an hour and a half to learn the whole thing. The whole system. You can use it for the rest of your life. Simple techniques. So that's not really an argument. But it is, I think people forget that they have these tools. I think there's a resistance, like, how could something so simple really take care of that? I'll tell you. So I have a friend who's he's an internist, a Western MD. And he said, every day I would come home from work. He's a great doctor, big open heart, right? Really in his community, really helping. He said, every day I came home, I felt like I was hit by a truck, literally flattened. And he said, it would take me hours. I would sit in front of the television, seeing nothing, to try to come back, to decompress from this day, right? He said, I smoked a lot of pot. I couldn't deal with my wife and my kids. He lost his marriage during that time. And he said, I thought this was the life of a medical doctor. This is what medical school is like. This is what it seems like. You're just mowed down every day. Well, he met Kalashwar and he learned how to decharge. And he was like, oh my God, in half an hour on the way home from work, I can decharge and I'm fine. I'm clear. I'm present. I'm capable. All that exhaustion energy he was experiencing were the exchanges with his patients. He's taking all their stuff. It's not him. It wasn't his stuff, but he didn't know that, right? It's hard to gauge that, especially coming from a Western medical background, right? Which is very cut and dried and scientific, right? But that's the truth. It's 90% of what we're carrying that's so stressful and overwhelming and kind of creating PTSD and feelings of burnout and all that. It's not our stuff. So I think there's a kind of denial of that in our society. Hey, if I come home from work with a headache, that's normal. I'll take a pill. No, the headache is telling you your system is overloaded. You've received negative energy. You need to decharge. If you decharge it effectively, you won't have a headache anymore. It's gone. But we don't know how to read the signs. And there's a lot of that, what we were talking about before, that, no, I'm good. I don't need it. I'm good. Okay, how's that working for you? As the guy said. It's obviously not. You're overwhelmed. You're burned out. You're eating, a whole chocolate cake in the night. You're shopping till you drop, and it takes a bottle of wine to go to sleep. No, you're not fine, right? I think we could all say that's probably not that functional. So there's that hurdle internally to get over for people to actually use the techniques. Once they use them, they're like, really? Yeah, really.
Well, and this might be too soon to ask, but I've already thought of 5 people I want to give you as a gift.
Yeah.
But I'll get a gift certificate or something like that because life is stressful and everybody handles it differently. And I know in my experience, I'm keeping Excedrin in business all by myself. So it's like, just what you're talking about is having that moment. When I first started reading publicly for other people, for their pets, I got the worst migraines and I got so sick and nauseous and I'm thinking, what the heck? And luckily I have people in this industry that don't do what I do, but are psychics. And I said, why am I getting so ill? And it's because you're owning what you're hearing. And so I learned to put up those safeties and I learned to put up those guards. So they're real people. They're absolutely real. And you can do this when you have a conflict with a coworker, when you have a conflict with a boss, when instead of, bringing a gun to work, you can just bring your calm and that kind of stuff. And I mean that in all the seriousness. What Alx is talking about is absolutely real. It is absolutely real. And when you experience the difference between the two, you go, See, I don't get sick anymore. I haven't in years, but I did those first few months because I didn't know to protect myself from the energy. I protected myself from the stories and from the issues that were going on, but I didn't do it all the way. So, Alex, do you have like a program? I'm sure we'll get to this, but I already want to know. Do you have a program? Do you have a hourly rate? How do I call you? I mean, I got your.
You can call me.
I'm in Northern California, you're in Southern. I mean,
Right.
I would really like to know, besides, I see the website on there, is how does this look when somebody comes to you?
Well, that's a wide range, right?
Oh.
So if someone wants a personal healing session with me, it's like an hour to 90 minutes, that's through ucbk.org. My organization called the Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen that we've had since 2007. Yeah, it's really a funny, quirky thing, but it is functionally a church in the U.S. And so it has all the benefits of a church, right? The tax write-off for donations and so on. So ucbk.org is, you can find the private healing sessions with me and other healing work, and also the wide range of healing systems that I teach to train healers and all like that. There is a pre-recorded webinar for decharging on that site. It's more of the overtly spiritual kind of woo-woo version of the teaching, flat out and comprehensive. On energeticsofselfcare.com, there are 2 tools that are a couple of video trainings with a comprehensive, like a handout, basically, operating manual that goes along with the video trainings. They're in short bits to teach the decharging. I think it's like 6 short YouTube videos that get unlocked when somebody pays for it. It's like $54. It's really not onerous. The introductory video there is free, so people can see the style and tone and see if the content is what they want to find out more about. So decharging is there, and then the integrative meditation. That goes hand in hand with the decharging techniques. It's a short series also. I made them very bite-sized, like 20 minutes at a time, so people don't get overwhelmed getting the tools that they want to use for overwhelm. You shouldn't have to stress getting techniques to get out of your stress, right?
Exactly.
So I tried to make them pretty simple, but the format is more geared toward like healthcare workers and all the service occupations and the helping occupations, including healers. So integrative meditation is a technique that people can use while they're working to, it puts up a protection wall and starts dissolving whatever stress they're receiving throughout the day, so that by the end of the day, they actually physically would have less to have to decharge. So they work in tandem, and they're brilliant, actually. It's all from India. I didn't make this stuff up. This is like ancient saints of India have always known these kinds of techniques and tools. It just seems that the duress of us in the West now has reached critical mass, and we really need these kinds of tools. So those programs are there. They're very simple. It's a one purchase, and then they get access to all the YouTube videos in the training series. They can go at their own pace. So people can learn as they're able to, in little bite-sized pieces. And really, it's like learn it in a few hours, and then you can use these techniques for the rest of your life. They're that efficient, and they're kind of addictive when you start to see how they work. It is truly unbelievable. You can go in a mud bath every day and come out clean. It's fine.
Metaphorically or physically?
Yeah, well, yeah. The mud bath of your office.
It'd be great for your skin and one for your mind.
Or your working environment. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think it's kind of revolutionary in the field of self-care and in the field of understanding the energetics of how this stuff works. If I say, oh, but I work in a stressful environment, but I'm fine when I come home because I believe that I'm fine. No. Nature has its own, like we have physics, right? Well, we also have a kind of metaphysical world that operates by certain laws. And the law is, if you go in with a reasonably open heart and you're impacted by stress all day, it's going to take a toll, whether you believe it or you don't believe it. You can have a very strong constitution, right? Swim against the river, for a while. But I don't care how strong a swimmer you are. Ultimately, nature will win. We need to respect that and operate in line with nature rather than trying to fight it all the time with the, oh, I'm fine. I don't need that. I'm good. I have 8 kinds of pain and 3 headaches, but I'm great. No, you're not. Actually, it might behoove you to understand a little bit about the mechanics of why. And how much of that are the overlays from other people that you've received throughout the day. And the stakes get higher. Let's say you're a social media personality or a celebrity and millions of people are thinking on you both positively and negatively every day. Oh my God, the toll that takes. Live stage performers, they're the focus for everybody's attention for the 90 minutes they're on stage giving a show, right? Everybody's relaxing. They're all decharging their stress from the day or the week or whatever. Where is it going? Through their eyes. It's going to the performers. How's that working? Well, sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? What do they do after the show? The old cliche was they go to the bars, right? They go into outrageous behaviors trying to balance this unbelievable, overwhelming input of energy from that's not theirs. It's other people.
I think that's the biggest thing I hope everybody takes away. It's not yours.
It's not yours.
It's other people. And if you could make a banner right this second, I know, Dr. Jacalyn, the same thing with you. We've talked about people commenting on our clothes and our makeup and our hair, and you're on camera all the time. The same as Alx just gave that example. I have to remember it's not mine. When I first doing reading, I'm taking too much in on the people I'm reading and too much compassion, and I had to get it back up and say, wait a minute, that doesn't belong to me. And until you understand that, I really want everybody to hear that. Alx said, it doesn't belong to you.
No,
and
it's not your stuff.
the techniques to help you to get through that. That's amazing.
Yeah, it saved lives.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, in Santa Cruz, where I used to live, and we did a lot of this work before I moved to LA, regularly hairdressers, nurses, and massage therapists coming in tears, hearing this information and saying, my God, I thought I was going crazy. I knew there was something. Everybody uses a hairstylist as their amateur psychotherapist. They hear everything.
That's the bartender, right?
Oh my God! And by the end of the day, they're kind of, they're not doing well. It's really painful, but they don't know what is this energy. We don't articulate it like this. Let's say, and so to hear someone say, "No, this is not your stuff. These are all the layers of the things you've absorbed from people." Oh my God. I mean, so many people in tears going, I thought I was going mad. Thank you so much for these techniques. Body workers. We had one girl, she was in her 20s, very busy massage practice. She already had an ulcer. I'm sorry, at 26 years old, you have an ulcer? Yeah. How about what you can't digest from all the people that you're treating? She learned how to decharge within a month. All of that was gone. The health issues gone. It was not her stuff. In her case, it physicalized, right? In other people, it's more emotional. But the principle is the same. You're absorbing a lot from other people. It's not you. Consider someone in HR, in corporate. If you're the shoulder that everybody cries on, you're effectively a healer for the people around you. That could be a parent, a school teacher, somebody in HR, a project manager. It's the same principle. You're absorbing everybody's stuff. And if you're strong, you can withstand it for a while. And then
It'll take you down.
River current. Yes, nature will have its way unless we know how to operate effectively.
Alx, everything you're saying is spot on. I'm just going to add one quick thing because we're at the top of the end of our show. But so I retired from my corporate career last year, and I had all these health issues. I had extremely high blood pressure. Started this business in a pandemic. I don't have any high blood pressure. I don't take any medicine for my blood pressure. All my ailments are in remission, and I'm running 18 shows a week in 3 days, standing for all of them, and dealing with people. I have to deal with on any given week 60 people at least. And so what do? I meditate, I do my affirmations, I do my exercise, I take time to think and breathe. So I'm sure that your techniques would take it to a completely different level. So for anybody out there watching, listening, this isn't voodoo. This isn't some kind of magic dust. This stuff really does work. These techniques that she's talking about, meditation, yoga, breathing, they will change your life.
Yeah, and I want to end with this idea that when you have the energetic shortcuts, the kinds of things that I'm talking about in terms of dissolving or decharging negativity, Normally, somebody could take an hour at the gym or 2 hours to kind of try to balance the energy that they've received from other people. Or they might meditate for an hour, or they might do breathing exercises or some kind of other lovely self-care for an hour. Usually people are so stressed, they're like, I can't do that. I don't have the time. When we're talking about energetic techniques, we're cutting to the chase, exactly to where it is, you could say implanted, that's a weird word, but the input in us that needs to come out. And within 10, 15 minutes, it's gone. And it's gone for good. It's not going to come back. So it's so efficient. That's, I think, what hit me about it in the beginning and why I'm such a cheerleader for decharging 20-something years later.
Well, Alx, it has been a true pleasure meeting you, and I love the work that you're doing and helping so many people who have broken hearts. That's seriously needed, and especially in this pandemic, everything that people have been going through. Of course, we know a lot of wonderful things have come out of it, but there are tons of people who are empty, broken, isolated, thinking they're crazy. So please reach out to Alx. Alx, for people who are listening on the radio and can't read the banner, can you please tell us again how we can reach you?
Yeah, so the decharging and the integrative meditation techniques for anyone in the healthcare helping service occupations to offload the stress very easily and efficiently, even while you're working. That website is energeticsofselfcare.com, just like it sounds, energeticsofselfcare.com. For my private healing work and the more, I would say, advanced spiritual stuff, you can find me at UCBK, Universal Church of Baba's Kitchen, ucbk.org. And that site also, we do a lot of events. Everything at this point is still on Zoom or live streamed via the internet. So anyone can join from anywhere. Yeah.
Love that. This makes the world a much smaller place. And,
doesn't it?
Thank you, Alx. This was so timely and so necessary.
It's such a pleasure. And to meet both of you is really such a joy. I hope I'll see you again.
Absolutely.
Come back and see us on this show or any of our other shows. And if you want to watch the show, you can head over to our YouTube channel, subscribe to Dr. Jacalyn LLC, and you can watch the show right there. So brilliant. Thank you again, Alx.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really a huge pleasure.
We'll see you again. Thank you. Bye. Aminah, she's fantastic. Thank you again for bringing another person from your network who just is filled with so much positivity and doing things to help people unlock those things that are just hidden deep within inside the broken hearts. We've got to run because I've got another show coming up right after this, but I'm going to spotlight you and let us know how we can reach you.
Absolutely. So bridgingworlds.us is my best way. You can read all about me, all my funny, all my sarcasm. Again, bridgingworlds with an s.us is the best way to reach me. I am also all over the world. I only need a phone call with you, and we will help you and your pets any way we possibly can. So everybody be healthy, everybody be wonderful, and hopefully see you next Friday.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I'm just going to close out this show very quickly. So thank you. I'll see you again, my friend. See you next week.
Take care.
Take care. Wow, Alx was amazing. Today has been just so much entertainment and education. I'm just so thankful and honored for people who have been on our stage today. I am going to have 2 more shows coming up. We have Stories of Hope, Inspiration, and Overcoming Adversity. And then we have the Variety Show, and I've got a doctor on each one. So stay tuned. That's coming up in the half hour. I do have an ask. I have a book that I just launched last week, and I'm so close to being number 1. I am at number 28 right now. And so what I need are for people to have to order my ebook. I'll give it to you for free. Just go over. I'm going to find my banner. Go to drjacalyn.com, contact us, or you can email me, Jacalyn at drjacalyn.com, JACALYN at drjacalyn.com, and I will send you a free ebook. And if you would please give a review, that would be absolutely fantastic. That's how the number one status is determined. It's by sales and by reviews. And again, I'm happy to send you my ebook for free to help me get there. That would be amazing. Okay. Thank you so much, everybody. We're looking forward to seeing you just at the half. I think we've got 25 minutes until the show starts. So until then, thank you again for being here. Thank you, Alx. Thank you, Aminah. And please send me your email address that's associated with your Amazon account so I can send you a free ebook. Okay, bye.